Hey y'all, it's Chloe. I wanted to do a little video about, or vlog about the Ostara Tarot. I gotta agree with everybody, the box is so nice to work with. I don't even mind the little divider. This one's a lot, I kind of like this easier format better because I find it just slightly easier to get the cards out of this one compared to the beautiful creatures. But it still took me a minute to figure out how best to work with this kind of box. I really do like it though. The details are wonderful, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the packaging stuff or, you know, even the book. There's a few other videos out there that it's a color pages. It's got nice labeling, very easy to tell what suit you're looking at, and I really like that. Instead of having color splitting, like the Beautiful Creatures has like a dark, thorough pages that give intros to each section. Instead, in this one for the Ostara Tarot, they have, when you get past the Major Arcana, which kind of has one of those introductory pages going into the Minor Arcana, and then instead of having dividers like that through the book, right above the picture, the first page you come to, it says like wands. And then it's wands all on that corner until you get to coins and so on through the suits. It's really nicely labeled that way. I kind of like that. It's a really quick, easy way to tell. There's cups, okay, coins, cups, and then swords. Okay, so just above the left hand side, above the picture on that side, you get which suit you're in. And that's a nice little way to quickly go through it. Of course, there is a table of contents, which makes it pretty click and slick. There's no spreads offered for this one, which is fine. And this is a Rider-Waite inspired deck. If I remember correctly, they said they did use some inspiration, but they didn't totally stick with the Rider-Waite. But when you look through the deck, you can see it there in some cards, which I like. There's also some things I found really interesting, and instead of showing the whole deck, which I will for a moment show how thick the deck is, okay? It is a really thick deck for me, and I love the gilding. I love gilding, as you know, or edging of any kind of color other than just white, unless it really suits the rest of it. Here's the backs. I know you've seen them from others, and if not, here you go. One of the main 4 artists who helped create the deck is the illustrator for the backs. And each illustrator, if you haven't seen anybody else's videos yet, took a suit. But then they also did some agreements on certain cards to do with certain themes throughout the deck. A few of those themes are, let's take the court cards for existence to start. For example, to start, all the pages have foxes in them. So let me strum through those. Here's the page of coins, the page of wands, the page of cups. Sorry, it is a high gloss deck. Again, you get that shimmer. And then the page of swords. They all have foxes. I like that consistency. It makes it easy to know what you're dealing with. And then they have a similar thing going on with the knights. You have bears for the knights. So this is the Knight of Swords. There's a bear with the, come on, Knight of Coins. and the Knight of Wands. There you go. And I think, oh, sorry, the Knight of Cups. Sorry, again, just trying to get it to focus for you pretty well. Again, these are high gloss on top of gilding. Now, with the kings and queens, they did something a little different. They do not have consistent animals for each one. They have animals that suit each king or queen, although they did, I noticed one pattern that they did do with the kings. And I'm trying to see if there was a consistent one with the, okay. So again, these all have animal companions or they are the animal. So here is the King of Cups. It is a stag. Okay. Here is the King of Wands. And this one is the King of Swords, but it has like a warrior or samurai type with deer or stag horns to keep with the theme of the horned kings. And here is the King of Coins, or discs, or pentacles, what have you. I think they're coins, though. At least that's what I kept seeing when I was going through it. So the queens have an animal per queen. The Queen of Wands has a very fierce-looking lion. I think that's representing Leo. Very much feels like Leo energy. It reminds me of my friend Lee. She doesn't look anything like that, but she has strong Leo energy like that. And then here's the Queen of Swords, and she has a bird friend instead of a lion. And the Queen of Cups has seals. And the Queen of Earth has, like, I want to say goats and herbs and a shield below. It's kind of a neat depiction. Oop. So yeah, that was one of the things that was kind of neat, the consistency in the pages, knights, and kings with having those three particular animal types as the themes, and then the queens had their own personal animal type instead of the same animal type running through it. I have to say I really like the death card in this one. I really feel that energy of death and some other things going on there that I feel can be challenging for people, but I like a challenging card, so I really like this. I like that the little labels for the major arcana are not all, or even through the minors, are not all on the top. They sometimes switch it to the bottom. I think they're fitting it in with the artwork that they have depicted here and just switching it up. I like that. I think that's kind of neat. It really makes you pay attention to the symbolism and if you're into numerology. I actually like reading Roman numerals, and now this is another deck I could share with my kids to practice Roman numerals. In many decks, the Roman numerals are only in the major arcana. This one is throughout the deck. And let's see. I noticed there was a bit of a theme through the tens as well, and there may be some other ones, but there were 2 tens with octopuses or squids. Okay. This is the pentacles, the pentacles and the cups have a couple octopi or octopuses. And then the tens of, trying to see which way I feel is the right way. The tens of swords and Wands both have whales. There is one other whale card, the 9. I can't remember if it was Swords or Wands. Oh, this one's Cups, but it is a 9 card. So that's kind of interesting that they shared the whales with more than just the 10s, since that seemed to be a theme. And they did that with a few other animals in a few of the other suits as well. And then your ace cards in the deck are kind of nice as well, with the sword. Here's the Ace of Swords. Again, here's an example of the Roman numeral being at the bottom instead of the top in the border. And I like that it's a very limited, very sleek, with mostly showing all of the art around and then just having this impression border. I feel like it doesn't take as much away from the art, and it gives you some structure to look at, but without being too intrusive. And here's another one with the Roman numeral on top. Like I said, it's not consistent through the whole deck. It's just kind of, she's switched it for, I believe, the art, it feels to me. No, I'm not so sure on this one, but yeah, sure. But this is the Ace for the Cups, the Wands, Pentacles or discs or coins. I almost want to say coins. I'll look in the book real quick. And then the swords. Let me take a pause there and look at the book real quick. Again, I'm not going to go through the whole deck. If you want that, please, there's some really nice videos out there. I just wanted to confirm. Yes, it was wands, coins. Yes, coins for the earth suit. Cups and swords. Okay. So yeah, they're coins in this deck for the earth suit. Now, if you're used to wider weight, that is in here. This has a rabbit resting by some swords. I found a few cards. Here's one that was kind of easy to tell. This is like the 4 of Wands, and that definitely has that structured, organized party theme that you tend to find with the 4 of Wands. There's another one that kind of has a touch of the traditional Rider-Waite look. Raccoon holding 7 swords, having the tools that you need to fight the battle. And then there's a few where it took me a minute to see what was going on, like the raccoons in their home. I like the message of this in the book, how living simply and not going beyond your means, that kind of stuff. It has a really good, this is probably one I should read. Let me come back to that one. I'll maybe read that one. And then this was one I just really liked. I really liked this 3 of Wands. And I gotta say, normally the swords makes or breaks whether I get a set, but I was very drawn to some of the pictures, even though they weren't all traditional. Like, this takes me a moment to sink into. I really like it. I think it's a really cool picture, but for meanings wise, it took me a moment. And so I find that some of these cards, yes, they're really easy. You flow with it. You got it. Okay, it zooms in. Some of the other ones, it takes you a moment to sink in. This is one that I can pretty much get that 5 of Cups feel. You know, many of the 5s are distress or arguments or something along those lines. That works. This one had me a little baffled for a moment, but reading the book was very helpful. And now that I've read it, it makes far more sense. I still don't quite understand why the lady has wands tied to her fingers, but the rest of what was shared makes more sense for the meaning of the card. So there are some cards you'll need to definitely read the books to understand. Many you can intuitively just hit right on it, and it's great and lovely. I'm sure you'll find certain cards favorites and others like, what what's going on, but I feel that they did a really great job, like others have mentioned, on the blending of the colors that they were using, even though the artwork can be very different on the different one, on the between the suits and the artists that worked on it. There's so much awesome. Like, I really do like the nines in this deck. Every single nine I saw in this deck, I was like, oh, that's so cool. And even I really, really like the Eight of Coins is a pretty significant card for me. Not the most, but I really look for that card in decks to see if I'm really feeling what I feel is the Eight of Coins or Earth or Pentacles. And the Devil card is quite interesting. Uh, really challenges you when you look at it, and seeing for feeling for that meaning that we're used to there. I'm not saying it isn't there, but it definitely is an interesting depiction of the death or the devil card and the challenges that go with the devil card. So yeah, I really like it. I like that it challenges me. I like that there is enough here that just slips me right into that tarot that I'm familiar with, but I also like that not everything is fully labeled. There is no, argument about is this wording, the wording of the suits. And I like that I don't have to kind of make peace that it's a pentacle on there or not. There's no pentacles on here. They're just coins, and so I can go with that earthy meaning without wishing there was triscles or some other things other than a pentacle. Pentacle's not really my favorite symbol. I acknowledge it as a great symbol for pagan paths and such, but it's not my favorite symbol on decks. And I kind of like the coins. The coins actually do have kind of a theme going on there, but you really need to get into that picture to see the symbolism on the coins. Some of them are exactly the same. These seem to have owls on these coins in different directions, so it's a little bit hard to see unless you could really be in front with it. Now, this is also the card I thought I would go ahead and take a moment to read that with, and then we should be wrapping this up. In my thoughts on shuffling with the deck and stuff. Okay, so this is the Seven of Coins. There we are. Oh, sorry. Still getting used to. Okay, here we are. Okay, so it has nice key terms. It says Seven of Coins in nice kind of reddish brown. Simple pleasures, happiness, no drastic change, and comfort. So that's what this one's about. A family of raccoons is snuggled safe in their den with a wealth of coins around them. This card is all about comfort. Sometimes simple pleasures are better, for they encourage happiness to be found at home. Satisfaction will be found through tried and true methods. If you are asking the deck whether you should make the change, this is a solid no on that answer. Now is not the time to flee home and to look to new horizons, but rather to enjoy what you have cultivated around you. Reversed, it would be your perceived comfort may be an illusion. Furthermore, it may be holding you back as you staunchly cling to your roots. Embrace change, as the status quo is not as beneficial as you think. So, I think reversals is a pretty good idea, possibly with this one, or just keeping those in mind. What I tend to do if I'm not doing reversals is that if I have some swords cards around, say, a more positive card like this, I would feel for if perhaps the idea of just staying in place and being in the comfort zone has gone on too long, and if one needs to reassess and maybe move things a little bit to see if moving things and changing things might progress energy forward without dumping everything on its butt. But yeah. And the only other thing I wanted to mention about this, about this deck, aside from how I feel about the cardstock thing, is that, oh my goodness, am I losing my train of thought? Maybe I'll talk about the cardstock anyway, since I brought it up. Okay, so as you can see, lovely gilding. It's nice silver. It is actually quite large, which I now have a conflict with, only in the sense that I have small hands. So usually large wide decks like oracle size I can work with, but I find the way I traditionally like to shuffle a little hard because I do this side ruffle shuffle kind of thing, or riffle shuffle, whatever. And it doesn't do as well. I'm concerned about bending the cards in a bad way doing that. But because of how wide, like tall the cards are, and my hands are not that big, I actually find it kind of hard to riffle shuffle or ruffle shuffle, whatever. And with this, so I have been finally almost have my desk set up. And I went over and I shuffled. I was like, oh my gosh, I almost feel like I want to do a swirly thing with this deck. And it's just because the cards are just thick enough that it really adds some bulk to this deck, you know, this way, how deep it is. And then to have it be so narrow on top of it is a little bit hard for my hands. I've got some really odd size other decks, and I don't know why this one is so much harder for me to shuffle at this point. But I have been doing some readings with them. I did some of that, you know, overhand kind of shuffling. That works really well with this one. It slides very nicely. With the gloss, it's a nice slidey in that way. And I feel doing, say, like one on the table, or doing a spread out where you let the people pull it, would work really well as well. Oh, now I'm seeing the other thing. My deck unfortunately came with bent edges. They're just slightly bent. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but all my corner edges are on more than half of this deck are slightly bent. That was disappointing, but it's not the worst thing. The gilding is still really well intact, and I usually over time kind of ding up my decks anyways. Yeah, even on the top corner on this side, they're like bent. Again, I'm not sure if you can see that. It's just a slight curl. It's just slightly tipping to one side, but yeah, it's on predominantly a lot of these cards. So that was a little disappointment, but I've heard some people when they were trying to part the deck, knowing it was gilding, they had peeled a little of the gilding off or cracked or whatever. So just be careful when you get your deck and take your time separating them. At first I was like, oh, I better contact them and try to get another deck, but what if I just get another dented deck? So yeah, other than having a little bit of curl at the tops and bottoms, it's really pretty. It's nice to hold. If you have larger hands, these will be very easy to use. If you have smaller hands, you might find it a little difficult to shuffle, and you'll want to get inventive with your shuffling. So yeah, otherwise really lovely piece. I hope this was insightful, and you all have a great week, and I'm really enjoying using them and even figuring out how to shuffle. Okay, have a great week. Hugs, kisses, peace to everybody. Bye-bye. I'm out of here.